The ad appeared in an almost forgotten corner of the newspaper, squeezed between common job offers and old classifieds. It was strange, too short, and said almost nothing. Intern wanted for night shift at a psychiatric hospital. Good pay, discretion required. No hospital name, no landline phone number, just a handwritten address in the margin of the paper, as if someone had decided to include it later. The paper looked old, yellowed, as if that ad had been printed a long time ago. Yet that same morning, it was there, in that day's newspaper. And the strangest thing of all was that no one seemed to remember who had placed the ad. That same afternoon, Anna decided to go to the strange address that appeared in the ad. The bus that took her there seemed emptier and emptier as it moved through the city, as if each stop took her a little further away from any familiar place. Through the window, the buildings disappeared, giving way to silent streets surrounded by tall trees that blocked the late afternoon light. The driver didn't say a word during the entire journey, only glancing in the rearview mirror occasionally, as if to make sure she was still there. When he finally arrived at the indicated stop, he simply murmured, "It's here." The bus departed immediately, leaving Anna alone on the shoulder of an almost abandoned road. She had to walk along a narrow path that crossed a terrain overgrown with tall grass and rusty fences. The wind made the trees creak, as if something heavy were moving among the branches. After a few minutes of walking, she saw in the distance the dark silhouette of a huge, old building with broken windows that looked like empty eyes watching her arrival. And at that moment, Anna had the strange feeling that the place already knew she was coming. At the entrance, there was a huge iron door, stained by time, and next to it, two women were sitting behind a simple table. The dim lighting in the hallway made their faces look too pale, almost lifeless. When Anna approached, they both looked up at the same time, as if they had been expecting her. Neither of them smiled. One of them picked up a thick notebook full of yellowed pages and asked in a low voice, "You came because of the ad, didn't you?" Anna simply nodded. The other woman then slid an old key across the table, the metal scraping slowly against the silent wood. "Before you go in, you need to understand one thing," she said, staring intently at Anna. "During the night shift, you can hear things." And before Anna could ask anything, the first woman added in a whisper, "The important thing is never to answer." I took the keys and climbed some enormous stairs, which seemed endless, each step echoing too loudly in the silence of the building. The metal handrail was cold, as if no one had touched it in a long time. When I finally reached the third floor, I saw a crooked sign on the wall, "Children's Wing." The hallway was long, lit by dim lamps that flickered occasionally. On the walls were children's drawings, colorful scribbles of houses, trees, and some strange figures that looked like shadows with large eyes. Some doors were closed, others ajar, creaking slowly in the wind that passed through the hallway. From somewhere distant came the sound of a child's laughter, low, almost a whisper. I looked around, but the hallway was completely empty. Then I noticed something that made my stomach churn. One of the drawings on the wall seemed to have been made just a few minutes ago. I looked through the small glass window of each door, trying to understand if there was really someone inside. Some rooms were completely empty, just old beds and toys abandoned on the floor. But when I reached room number 333, something made me stop. The light inside the room was on. Slowly, I brought my face closer to the glass to get a better look. In the center of the room was a small chair, the kind children use, facing the door. Sitting on it was an old doll, dressed in a child's hospital gown. Its glass eyes were pointed directly at me. And then I noticed something that made my whole body freeze. The doll's head moved, very slowly, as if it had just looked at the door.
Then I slowly opened the door and entered the room to medicate the child. It was almost 11 p.m. The air inside was colder than in the hallway, with a strong smell of medicine and something old, difficult to explain. The small bed in the corner of the room was occupied, covered up to the neck by a white sheet. Only the top of the child's head was visible, with dark hair scattered across the pillow. I picked up the medication bottle and approached slowly, trying not to make a sound. "Medication time," I said, almost whispering. The child didn't respond, nor did he move. When I reached out to touch her shoulder, I heard a slight creak behind me. I glanced quickly to the chair where the doll had been before. The chair was empty. My heart raced instantly. I was absolutely certain the doll had been there when I came in. I quickly looked at the floor, then at the corners of the room, trying to find it. Nothing. The silence became so heavy that I could hear my own breathing. Then, behind me, something fell to the hallway floor. A dry sound, like plastic hitting the cold floor. I walked slowly to the door and looked out. The hallway was empty, but in the middle of it was the doll, lying on its side, staring at the ceiling. I had left the door closed. I swallowed hard and took a step back. At that moment, the child in bed began to laugh, a low laughter, strange, that didn't sound like a normal child. I turned slowly to look at the bed. The sheet still covered her face, but now I could clearly see something moving under the fabric. The laughter grew louder, and then a thin voice whispered from under the sheet, "He doesn't like it when you come in here." My whole body froze for several seconds. That voice was low, but it sounded too happy for someone lying in that bed. I tried to stay calm and took another step toward the child. "Who doesn't like it?" I asked, trying to control the tremor in my voice. For several seconds, there was only silence. Then the sheet began to move slowly, as if something was adjusting itself underneath. The child slowly raised her arm and pointed to the open bedroom door. I immediately looked down the hallway.
The doll that had been lying on the floor was no longer there. My stomach clenched. I looked back at the bed, and the child's hand was still pointing out of the room. "He walks at night," the voice whispered again. "He gets angry when someone talks to me." Suddenly, light footsteps echoed in the hallway. Small footsteps, dragging, like someone walking too slowly. They stopped right outside the door. The hallway light flickered twice, and a short shadow slowly appeared on the bedroom floor, a shadow that seemed to be shaped like a doll. I stood completely still, staring at that shadow standing in the doorway. It didn't move, but it didn't disappear either. The footsteps in the hallway had stopped, as if something was waiting. Behind me, the child continued breathing slowly, almost as if enjoying it. Then her voice whispered again, "He likes it when people get scared." At that moment, the door began to close by itself, creaking slowly. I ran to her and caught her before she hit me. When I looked back down the hallway, there was nothing there. No doll, no shadow, no sound. I took a deep breath, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. That's when I noticed something on the bedroom floor. Near the bed, there were small footprints of red paint. They started at the door and ended right next to the child's bed. I followed the marks with my eyes to the end, and there, right next to the pillow, was the doll, sitting again, looking at me. But this time there was something different about it. Its glass eyes now had red stains running down them like tears, and the child, still covered by the sheet, whispered the last sentence of the night. "Now he knows you stayed."
My body froze. The doll seemed smaller, more fragile, but there was something in its eyes that was impossibly alive. The red stains seemed to move, slowly trickling down as if breathing. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out of my throat. The child, covered by the sheet, began to laugh again, this time louder, higher pitched. He likes it when people get scared. The air in the room grew heavy, difficult to breathe. The lamp's light began to flicker incessantly, casting shadows that danced across the walls. The doll rose from the bed slowly, each movement strange and mechanical. Its steps were almost inaudible, but I could feel each one vibrating on the cold floor. Suddenly, it stopped a few inches from me. The silence returned, dense, almost suffocating. Then, without warning, the child pulled the sheet off itself, revealing a smile that didn't seem human. I recoiled, stumbling over an old toy on the floor. The doll tilted its head to the side, examining my movement. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly out of the room, while the doll's shadow stretched across the walls. The child got out of bed, eyes shining in the dim light, and said calmly, "He never lets anyone out, but sometimes someone manages to escape, just barely." My heart raced, and I realized the living room door was now locked from the inside. I screamed. No one answered. The footprints of red paint began to spread across the floor, as if something had run past. The doll took a step toward me. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I looked to the corner of the room and saw other children sitting silently, staring intently at me. Their faces were pale, their eyes empty, and they didn't move. The doll stopped beside me, and suddenly the child whispered, "He likes it when everyone is together." The shadows in the room began to move, sliding along the walls, swallowing the light. I recoiled to the bed, trying to keep my distance. The doll extended its wooden hand, its fingers stiff and cold, and before I could react, the child's laughter and the creaking of the wood filled the entire room. And then everything went completely dark. The silence returned, but something in the air told me that no one would leave that entire floor alive again. In the hallway, the last light flickered and went out. All that remained was the echo of what seemed to be a child's laughter, coming from all directions at once.